Picture this: a young Kenyan student standing tall in the 1960s, shouting for justice on the streets of Nairobi. This is the story of how university students became the heartbeat of Kenya's political soul and how that fire was tamed. Welcome to the wild, inspiring, and sometimes heartbreaking tale of student activism in Kenyan universities. Back in the colonial days, higher education was scarce, but Kenyan students at places like Makerere University in Uganda were already stirring the pot. Influenced by Pan-Africanist ideals, they challenged imperial rule. By the 1960s, after independence, the University of Nairobi became the stage for fiery debates on land reform, corruption, and the one-party state under Jomo Kenyatta. In 1971, the student organization of Nairobi University, or SONU, was born. It wasn't just a student club. It was a symbol of defiance, a voice for the nation's conscience. These students saw themselves as intellectual warriors, fighting for a better Kenya. In 1972, they went on strike after a student was killed crossing Uhuru Highway. Their demand? A simple underpass to connect lecture halls to dorms. The government responded with tear gas and arrests, but guess what? That underpass was built in just 6 months. Sonu's protests did not stop there. In 1975, they marched against the assassination of politician J.M. Kariuki, exposing elite corruption. These demos often led to clashes with the police, university closures, and arrests. But they also forced change, like more scholarships for students. Inspired by global movements from Paris to Berkeley, Kenyan students were unstoppable, with their voices echoing all the way to parliament. This was just the beginning, however. The real storm was coming in the 1980s. Enter the 1980s under President Daniel Arap Moi's iron-fisted rule. Kenya's universities became battlegrounds for democracy. SONU was at the forefront, teaming up with civil society and opposition leaders like Oginga Odinga. The stakes were higher, the demos bigger, and the consequences brutal. In 1979, SONU protested when Odinga was barred from speaking on campus. The response? Clashes with police. The 1980s brought radical leaders like Titus Adungosi and Wafula Buke, who faced detention for their fiery activism. By the 1990s, leaders like Christopher Owiro, otherwise known as Karl Marx, were organizing massive demos against Moi's one-party state, economic mismanagement, and human rights abuses. In the 1990 Sabasaba riots, SONU students did the unthinkable. They broke through police lines and occupied the steps of Kenya's parliament. It was a bold, symbolic act of defiance. Their slogan, Comrades Power, became a rallying cry that shook the nation. These protests weren't just disruptive. They helped end KANU's one-party rule in 2002. But this activism came at a cost. Universities were shut down for months, students were expelled, and some faced torture. In 1998, Moi banned SONU outright, calling it too radical and too rough. Yet, even in the face of repression, students shaped national discourse, influenced elections, and exposed abuses through the media. They were the nation's conscience, and the government feared them. But change was coming, a quieter, more calculated kind of control. Yeah, so guys, if you've made it this far into the video, you can like, share, and subscribe to this channel. You can also support us on the M-Pesa till below. Your donations will enable us to continue bringing this kind of content to your screen. Thank you. Fast forward to the 2000s. Presidents Moi Kibaki and Uhuru Kenyatta took the helm, and student activism faced a new challenge. Not just batons and tear gas, but laws and economics. The Universities Act of 2012 and the Universities Amendment Bill of 2015 to 2016 reshaped student politics. SONU, once a fiery force, was rebranded in 2017 as the University of Nairobi Student Association, or UNSA, a tamer, more administrative body. The Kenya University Students Organization, or KUSO, was introduced as a national umbrella group, centralizing control and diluting campus autonomy. Student leaders fought these changes, arguing that they silenced their voices. But the government held firm, claiming the reforms brought stability. Then there was the game changer, the rise of Module 2 or parallel degree programs. Starting in 1998, universities admitted fee-paying students to offset budget cuts. These students, often older and juggling jobs or families, saw education as a financial investment and not as a political battleground. Expulsion meant losing their degree and their money, so protests became risky. The university administration gained leverage. Expel a troublemaker and another fee-paying student would take their place. Activism began to fade. By the 2010s, the firebrand student leader who once challenged presidents was replaced by a pragmatic one, wary of debt or expulsion. The campus, once a hotbed of rebellion and consciousness, was starting to look like a business. Today, Kenya's university students still raise their voices. Think of the 2023 to 2024 protests over delayed HELB loans and also the finance bill protests. But the spark of the old Sonu days is dim. The state's strategy seems to have worked. A mix of brute force and clever engineering through laws and the parallel degree system transformed students from radicals to consumers. The university, once a stage for national struggle, is now a place where education is a transaction, not a revolution. On social media, some dream of reviving Sonu's spirit, but legal barriers and government oversight keep things in check. The firebrand leader who once made headlines is gone, replaced by someone navigating a system that prioritizes stability over dissent. Kenya's student activists once changed the nation, pushing for democracy, exposing corruption, and demanding justice. Their legacy lives on, but the question remains: can the spirit of comrade power rise again, or has the system won for good? That is a story that is still being written. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the rise and fall of student power in Kenya. Stay curious, stay informed, and maybe, just maybe, keep a bit of that comrade spirit alive.